Have you ever wondered why peace feels so elusive as we grow older? For many, the golden years are meant to be a time of relaxation, joy, and meaningful connections. Yet, not all relationships bring us closer to that ideal. Some people, whether they're acquaintances, friends, or even family members, may unknowingly rob us of the emotional balance we cherish most. The truth is that maintaining peace in your later years requires more than just avoiding conflict. It's about recognizing which relationships uplift you and which ones hold you back. In this discussion, we'll uncover the 5 types of people who can subtly but powerfully drain your emotional energy, sometimes without you even realizing it. From manipulators who thrive on guilt to critics who never let you feel good enough, this journey is about empowerment. You'll learn to spot these individuals, set firm boundaries, and embrace the relationships that truly enrich your life. Imagine what it would feel like to reclaim your days, your peace, and your happiness. Stay with us to the end as we reveal practical strategies to distance yourself from toxic influences and cultivate an environment where you can thrive. If you've ever felt like your emotional health is being compromised, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. If you haven't joined our community yet, I invite you to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you're always up to date with our latest content. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's discussion. If you find this content helpful, drop a 1 in the comments below. If it doesn't quite resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is invaluable. It helps me craft videos that better suit your interests and needs. Now, let's dive right in. Have you ever felt a quiet tug of guilt after saying no to someone, even when their request felt unreasonable? That's the hallmark of a manipulator, a person who thrives on bending others to their will by skillfully wielding guilt and obligation. These individuals often appear needy, helpless, or even affectionate, masking their true intentions under layers of emotional appeal. While they may not always act with malice, the result is the same. They drain your emotional resources, leaving you feeling depleted and trapped. Manipulators are masters of subtlety. They don't outright demand your help. Instead, they appeal to your nurturing instincts, especially if you've spent a lifetime being a reliable pillar of support for others. Picture this. You're savoring a peaceful afternoon, finally enjoying the quiet moments you've earned when the phone rings. On the other end is a family member or friend with yet another small favor to ask. Perhaps they need a ride, a loan, or your time to sort out a problem of their own making. You agree, thinking it's no big deal. But as the requests pile up, a troubling pattern emerges. They reach out only when they need something, subtly guilting you into saying yes by implying that refusing would make you selfish or neglectful. Over time, the effects of this dynamic become painfully clear. What starts as an occasional inconvenience transforms into a one-sided relationship that demands far more from you than it gives back. Instead of enjoying your golden years with freedom and autonomy, you find yourself tethered to obligations you never truly wanted. Worse still, manipulators often frame their needs as emergencies, making it difficult to say no without feeling as though you've failed them. This relentless cycle of guilt and obligation slowly erodes your sense of self-worth, leaving you emotionally drained. The key to dealing with manipulators lies in recognizing their behavior for what it is. Manipulators rely on your hesitation to confront them, knowing that most people value harmony and avoid conflict. This is where boundaries become your greatest ally. Setting firm yet compassionate limits is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-preservation. For instance, if someone frequently calls for favors, you can respond with a simple but firm statement like, "I'm sorry, but I'm unable to help this time." You don't owe them a lengthy explanation or justification. Your time and energy are valid boundaries in and of themselves. Learning to say no takes practice, especially if you've spent years prioritizing others' needs over your own. Start by reflecting on the nature of your relationship with the manipulator. Ask yourself, does this person genuinely enrich my life, or do they take more than they give? True relationships are built on mutual respect and care, not on obligations disguised as affection. When you prioritize your well-being, you empower yourself to reclaim control over your life and focus on the connections that truly matter. Imagine the freedom that comes from stepping off the emotional roller coaster manipulators create. Instead of dreading the next phone call or visit, you can cultivate an environment of peace and joy. Surround yourself with individuals who respect your boundaries and appreciate your kindness without taking advantage of it. By saying no to manipulation, you're saying yes to your own happiness, a choice that will enhance every aspect of your golden years. As you reflect on the presence of manipulators in your life, remember this: your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. By protecting your emotional well-being, you ensure that your generosity is directed toward those who genuinely value it. While manipulators may drain your energy through guilt, another type of individual can leave you feeling invisible and unimportant. In the next section, we'll explore the self-absorbed narcissist and how to navigate their overwhelming presence. Have you ever tried to share a heartfelt story, only to have the conversation hijacked by someone who makes it all about themselves? That's the essence of the self-absorbed individual. These people are often charming and charismatic at first glance, but beneath their engaging demeanor lies an insatiable need for attention. For them, every interaction is a stage, and they are the stars. While this behavior might seem harmless initially, it can leave you feeling overlooked, undervalued, and even invisible over time. The self-absorbed person dominates conversations effortlessly. Imagine this scenario. You're catching up with a friend and begin recounting a treasured memory, perhaps a beautiful trip or a meaningful milestone. You're only a few sentences in when they interrupt with this: "That reminds me of the time I..." Suddenly your story takes a back seat, and the spotlight shifts squarely onto them. As they delve into their own experiences, your moment of connection slips away. It's not just about their words, but also their energy. Self-absorbed individuals often exude a sense of entitlement, as if their thoughts and experiences inherently carry more weight than yours. They might not even realize how dismissive their behavior is. To them, it feels natural to steer the conversation back to their favorite subject, themselves. However, this dynamic often leaves you feeling unheard, as though your voice and presence are merely background noise in their narrative. The impact of such interactions can be subtle but profound. Over time, you may start to withdraw, sharing less of yourself because you know it will go unnoticed or dismissed. This erodes the mutual respect and connection that healthy relationships require. The self-absorbed person's inability to genuinely engage with others can make relationships feel one-sided, draining the joy and fulfillment you once derived from these interactions. So, how can you navigate relationships with someone who is endlessly self-focused? The first step is setting clear boundaries. While it might feel uncomfortable, it's essential to assert yourself in conversations. For example, if they interrupt you, gently but firmly steer the discussion back. "I'd like to finish my story first, and then I'd love to hear about your experience." This simple statement reaffirms your right to be heard without creating unnecessary conflict. It's also important to evaluate the role this person plays in your life. Ask yourself whether their presence enriches or diminishes your emotional well-being. If their behavior consistently leaves you feeling overlooked or frustrated, it may be time to limit the time and energy you invest in the relationship. Remember, prioritizing your own needs is not selfish, it's an act of self-respect. Another strategy is to seek out relationships where mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's lives are the foundation. These are the connections that nourish your soul, where you feel truly seen and valued. Spending time with people who listen as much as they share creates a sense of balance and reciprocity that is vital to emotional health. For instance, you might join a local group or community where shared interests foster meaningful conversations. Whether it's a book club, a fitness class, or a volunteer organization, these spaces often attract individuals who value connection and collaboration. Surrounding yourself with such people helps reinforce your worth and reminds you that your voice matters. Lastly, practice self-compassion. It's easy to internalize feelings of inadequacy when dealing with self-absorbed individuals, but their inability to listen or engage meaningfully says more about them than it does about you. Recognize the strength it takes to protect your peace and prioritize relationships that uplift you. As you reflect on the role of self-absorbed individuals in your life, consider this. Every conversation is an opportunity for connection, but that connection must be mutual. By setting boundaries and seeking out relationships built on respect and empathy, you can reclaim your voice and enjoy the kind of interactions that leave you feeling valued and fulfilled. While self-absorbed individuals monopolize attention, critics wield negativity to undermine your confidence. Up next, we'll explore how to handle those who constantly find fault and protect your self-esteem from their harmful influence. Have you ever felt as though no matter what you do, someone always finds a way to point out what's wrong? Critics have an uncanny ability to zero in on imperfections, real or imagined, and magnify them until they overshadow everything else. While constructive feedback can be valuable, the chronic critic operates on an entirely different level. These individuals seem to thrive on finding fault, often under the guise of being helpful, but their words carry a sting that can cut deep. Critics come in many forms. It could be a friend who always has a comment about your appearance or hobbies. Perhaps it's a family member who questions every decision you make, from the way you spend your time to the people you choose to associate with. At first glance, their remarks might seem innocuous. A simple suggestion here, a pointed observation there. But over time, these small criticisms accumulate, creating an environment where you feel judged and never quite good enough. The psychological toll of dealing with a critic can be immense. Constant criticism chips away at your self-esteem, planting seeds of doubt and self-consciousness. It's like carrying an invisible weight, one that grows heavier with each passing remark. Instead of celebrating your achievements or enjoying life's simple pleasures, you find yourself second-guessing your choices, fearing they won't measure up to someone else's standards. This erodes your confidence and fosters a sense of inadequacy, making it harder to embrace your authentic self. Imagine this scenario. You're excited to share news about a new hobby you've taken up, such as painting or gardening. As you eagerly explain your progress, the critic responds not with encouragement, but with a dismissive comment, like, "That's nice, but don't you think you're a bit old for that?" Their words might be framed as concern, but the underlying message is clear: they don't approve. Moments like these can turn a joyous occasion into a source of frustration or even sadness. So how do you protect yourself from the emotional drain of constant criticism? The first step is to recognize that their words are not a reflection of your worth. Critics often project their insecurities onto others, using judgment as a way to avoid confronting their own flaws. Understanding this dynamic can help you detach emotionally from their remarks and view them with a sense of perspective. Setting boundaries is also essential. When faced with critical comments, respond with calm confidence. For example, if someone questions your choices, you might say, "I appreciate your concern, but I'm happy with how I'm living my life." This simple statement affirms your autonomy and sends a clear message: your decisions are your own, and they don't require anyone else's approval. Another powerful tactic is to redirect the conversation towards something positive. Critics often thrive on negativity, so shifting the focus can neutralize their impact. If a family member points out what they perceive as a flaw, counter with something that highlights your strengths or achievements. For instance, if they comment on your spending habits, you could say, "That's one perspective, but I'm proud of how I've managed to enjoy my retirement." This approach not only deflects their negativity, but also reinforces your self-worth. It's equally important to surround yourself with people who uplift and celebrate you. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, where both parties feel valued and supported. Friends, neighbors, or community members who share your interests and appreciate your individuality can provide the encouragement and positivity you need to counterbalance the critic's negativity. Self-care also plays a crucial role in navigating these relationships. Take time to reflect on your achievements and remind yourself of the value you bring to the world. Journaling, meditation, or engaging in activities that bring you joy can help reinforce your sense of self-worth and resilience. When you nurture your emotional health, you're better equipped to handle the challenges posed by critical individuals. As you move forward, remember that no one has the right to define your worth. The opinions of others are just that, opinions. They don't hold the power to diminish your accomplishments or dictate how you feel about yourself. By embracing your strengths and setting firm boundaries, you can reclaim your confidence and protect your emotional well-being. While critics may undermine your self-esteem with their constant negativity, irresponsible individuals present an entirely different challenge, often shifting the burden of their choices onto others. Next, we'll explore how to identify and manage these relationships while safeguarding your peace and resources. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Have you ever found yourself cleaning up someone else's mess, figuratively or literally? Irresponsible individuals have a way of shifting their burdens onto others, leaving you to shoulder the consequences of their choices. Whether it's financial woes, poor decisions, or constant crises, these people often rely on your kindness and goodwill to bail them out, creating a dynamic that feels both exhausting and unfair. Irresponsibility isn't just about neglecting one's duties, it's about consistently transferring the fallout of those neglected responsibilities onto someone else. Imagine this: a family member repeatedly comes to you for financial assistance, promising that this time will be the last. You agree, thinking you're helping them out of a tough spot. But the cycle continues, and soon you realize that your generosity hasn't solved their problem. It's enabled their behavior. Over time, you begin to feel more like your safety net than a loved one. The emotional toll of dealing with irresponsible individuals can be overwhelming. Their lack of accountability forces you into roles you never agreed to, whether it's acting as their problem solver, financial provider, or emotional support system. This dynamic erodes your peace, leaving you with feelings of frustration, resentment, and even guilt. After all, their crises often come with an unspoken expectation. If you don't help, you're the one who's cold or unkind. Irresponsible people often appeal to your sense of duty, especially if they are younger relatives or people you've cared for in the past. They might play on your emotions, reminding you of times when you supported others, or emphasizing how only you can help them. These tactics are designed to bypass your boundaries, leaving you feeling trapped in an endless cycle of giving. Breaking free from this pattern requires a combination of self-awareness and boundary setting. First, it's important to recognize that their lack of accountability is not your fault. While it's natural to want to help those we care about, constantly rescuing someone from the consequences of their actions does more harm than good. It not only drains your resources, but also prevents them from learning and growing. Accountability is a skill that can only develop when people face the outcomes of their choices. The next step is learning to say no in a way that is both firm and compassionate. For example, if someone asks for financial help, you might respond with, "I'm sorry, but I'm not in a position to assist with this. Perhaps you can explore other options." This response protects your boundaries while encouraging them to take responsibility for finding a solution. You don't need to offer lengthy explanations or excuses. Your refusal is valid in and of itself. It's also helpful to establish clear limits on what you are and aren't willing to do. For instance, you might decide that you're willing to offer emotional support, but not financial assistance, or that you'll help with advice, but won't take on tasks that aren't yours to handle. Communicating these boundaries up front can help prevent misunderstandings and reduce the pressure to constantly say yes. Bookmark. Another strategy is to shift the focus from enabling to empowering. Instead of solving their problems for them, encourage them to take proactive steps toward accountability. For example, if they're facing financial difficulties, suggest resources or programs that could help them manage their situation more effectively. This approach allows you to support them without taking on their burdens, fostering a sense of independence and self-reliance. Surrounding yourself with people who respect your boundaries and appreciate your support is equally important. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, where both parties contribute to each other's well-being. By prioritizing connections that uplift you, you create a support network that reinforces your sense of peace and stability. As you navigate relationships with irresponsible individuals, remember this: you are not responsible for fixing everything. Your time, energy, and resources are precious. and it's okay to prioritize your own needs. Letting go of the need to rescue others is not selfish. It's a recognition of your worth and the value of your time. Picture the freedom that comes from stepping away from unnecessary burdens. Instead of feeling weighed down by someone else's chaos, you can focus on cultivating the life you want, one filled with joy, contentment, and meaningful connections. By setting boundaries and encouraging accountability, you empower both yourself and those around you to thrive. While irresponsible individuals rely on your support to avoid facing their own responsibilities, another group presents an entirely different challenge. Up next, we'll explore how ungrateful people can diminish the joy of giving and what you can do to protect your generosity and self-respect. Have you ever gone out of your way to do something kind for someone, only to be met with indifference, or worse, criticism? Ungrateful individuals have a way of diminishing the joy of giving, leaving you questioning whether your efforts were worth it. Their inability to acknowledge or appreciate what you've done reflects not on you, but on their own lack of consideration and gratitude. Yet the sting of ingratitude can weigh heavily, making it hard to maintain your enthusiasm for acts of kindness. Ungrateful people often come in subtle forms. They might not openly dismiss your efforts, but instead act as if your gestures are expected rather than appreciated. Imagine spending hours preparing a holiday meal, carefully selecting each dish to ensure everyone's preferences are considered. When the meal is finally served, instead of gratitude, someone complains, "This doesn't taste like it used to," or, "Why didn't you make that other dish I like?" These comments, though seemingly small, can overshadow your hard work and make you feel undervalued. The impact of such behavior goes beyond the moment. Over time, repeated instances of ingratitude can erode your willingness to give. The joy you once found in acts of generosity is replaced with frustration or reluctance, as you begin to associate giving with disappointment rather than fulfillment. This dynamic can strain relationships, making it harder to maintain genuine connections with those who fail to appreciate your efforts. It's important to understand that ungratefulness often stems from a person's own shortcomings. Their inability to express gratitude may reflect entitlement, self-absorption, or a lack of emotional maturity. Recognizing this can help you detach from the hurt caused by their behavior and avoid internalizing their lack of appreciation as a reflection of your worth. To navigate relationships with ungrateful individuals, start by setting realistic expectations. Understand that not everyone will respond to your efforts in the way you hope, and that's okay. Adjusting your expectations can help minimize the disappointment that comes from unmet acknowledgments. For instance, instead of anticipating gratitude from someone who has consistently failed to express it, focus on the intrinsic satisfaction of giving. Remind yourself that your acts of kindness are a reflection of your character, not their response. Another key strategy is to redirect your energy toward relationships that reciprocate your efforts. Seek out connections where your generosity is met with appreciation and respect. Whether it's a close friend who always says thank you, or a community group that values your contributions, these relationships can help replenish the emotional energy depleted by ungrateful interactions. By surrounding yourself with positive influences, you create a support network that reinforces the joy of giving. It's also helpful to practice selective generosity. This doesn't mean withholding kindness, but rather being intentional about where and how you direct your efforts. If someone repeatedly takes your generosity for granted, consider scaling back your involvement. For example, instead of going all out to accommodate their needs, focus on small, manageable gestures that don't require significant emotional or physical investment. This approach allows you to maintain your sense of kindness without overextending yourself for those who fail to appreciate it. When addressing ungrateful behavior directly, choose your words carefully to avoid conflict while asserting your feelings. For instance, if someone dismisses your efforts, you might say, "I put a lot of thought into this, and I'd appreciate it if you could acknowledge that." This not only communicates your feelings, but also encourages them to reflect on their behavior. While you can't force gratitude, expressing your perspective can sometimes prompt a shift in how they approach the relationship. Finally, remember to celebrate your own efforts. Take time to acknowledge and appreciate the thoughtfulness, care, and energy you pour into your acts of kindness. Journaling about your contributions or sharing them with trusted friends can help reinforce the positive impact you make, even when it goes unrecognized. By valuing yourself and your efforts, you ensure that your generosity continues to be a source of joy rather than frustration. Ungrateful individuals may fail to appreciate your kindness, but they cannot diminish its value. Your actions are a testament to your character, and their lack of gratitude reflects their limitations, not yours. By focusing on relationships that uplift you and practicing self-compassion, you can preserve the joy of giving and protect your emotional well-being. As we reflect on the importance of avoiding ungrateful individuals, it becomes clear that safeguarding your emotional well-being is a vital act of self-care. In the next section, we'll explore how protecting your peace can transform your golden years into a time of joy, connection, and fulfillment. As the years pass, life takes on a new rhythm, one where the pursuit of peace, connection, and fulfillment becomes paramount. Your golden years are a time to cherish the joys you've earned, free from the stress and negativity that might have once encumbered you. Yet achieving this balance requires intentional choices, particularly in the relationships you nurture. Avoiding toxic individuals isn't just about self-preservation, it's about ensuring that the time you have is spent on what truly matters. We've explored the ways certain types of people, manipulators, self-absorbed individuals, critics, irresponsible persons, and the ungrateful, can erode your emotional well-being. Each brings unique challenges, but they share a common trait. They drain your energy and detract from your happiness. Recognizing these dynamics is the first step in reclaiming your peace. By identifying and addressing these relationships, you create space for positive connections to flourish. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's an act of self-love and respect. You've spent decades building a life filled with experiences, lessons, and achievements. Your time, energy, and emotional health are valuable resources that deserve careful stewardship. Just as you wouldn't allow someone to recklessly squander your finances or possessions, neither should you permit anyone to undermine your mental and emotional well-being. Instead, focus on relationships that bring you joy and uplift your spirit. Seek out those who celebrate your presence, listen to your stories, and respect your boundaries. Whether it's a lifelong friend, a family member who truly sees you, or a community of like-minded individuals, these connections enrich your life and reinforce your sense of purpose. As you reflect on your relationships, consider the positive influences that have brought you closer to peace. Perhaps it's a neighbor who always greets you with a smile, or a friend who never fails to check in. These are the people who make your golden years truly golden. Nurture these connections, and don't hesitate to invest in them. They're worth every effort. Now, I invite you to take action. Share your story in the comments below. What relationships have helped you find peace and balance in your life? What lessons have you learned from navigating challenging connections? Your insights can inspire others to take the steps needed to protect their emotional well-being. Together, we can create a community of support and understanding, where everyone feels encouraged to prioritize their happiness. Remember, protecting your peace doesn't mean isolating yourself from others. It means choosing wisely who you allow into your inner circle. It's about recognizing that your happiness is your responsibility and making decisions that align with your values and goals. By doing so, you create an environment where you can thrive, savoring the beauty and joy of each day. In this chapter of your life, honor the wisdom you've gained and the resilience you've built. Let go of the relationships that no longer serve you and embrace the ones that add value to your journey. Your golden years are a gift, a time to focus on what truly matters and to surround yourself with love, respect, and positivity. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from this topic. Have any thoughts or personal experiences to share? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to join our community for more empowering content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, embrace the journey with confidence.